in a position to be successful. Right now, I'm working for Chance, and I'm going to work for him until we have all the Grammys in the world and sell out the United Center and be on a world tour and make $1 million a day or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, that would be dope. But who knows? Maybe I'll get fired.
What's poppin', y'all? Well, it looks like he did get fired. Because recently it's being reported that Pat Corcoran, who's the individual speaking in the opening clip, is suing Chance the Rapper for $3 million. This is one of the most interesting pieces of information to unveil in 2020 because it confirms nearly everything I've believed about Chance the Rapper for years. Back in 2017, I made this video titled I Don't Trust Chance the Rapper that you should check out in the description and top right cards. I'm not going to reiterate all of my thoughts on him, but I got a lot of pushback because back in 2017, Chance was still beloved. He was the rap game's golden boy, everybody's sweetheart. I saw through that, but ever since then, he's continuously done things in public to make people turn against him, like they have today, where he might be in an irredeemable position when it comes to getting back into the trajectory he was set to be on, which was superstardom. I was able to get a hold of the actual lawsuit and paperwork that was filed, so we'll go through all of that and see what gripes the manager has with Chance the Rapper. If you're enjoying this video so far, just give me a like. It helps out a lot, and it took a ton of time to put this video together and go through this entire court document. The iconic pair of Pat Corcoran and Chancellor Bennett, an artist-manager combo for over 8 years, together reimagined and forever changed musical artists' ability to control their careers. Electing to forego the operational and financial support of a major label and choosing instead to rely on their own hard work and self-sacrifice, Corcoran and Bennett upended traditional norms, broke barriers, and redefined the music industry. The combination of Bennett's indisputable music talent and Corcoran's revolutionary management style led the duo to international and critical acclaim, including 3 Grammy Awards in 2017. Through Corcoran's calculated decision-making, including the money saved by forgoing a traditional music label relationship, Corcoran was able to maximize profits from multiple sources, including but not limited to sales and streaming revenue for master recordings, marketing opportunities, endorsements and branding deals, the sale of merchandise, and touring and other public appearances, which helped Bennett accomplish significant financial gain and international fame. Throughout this time, Bennett and Corcoran operated under a management agreement, where Corcoran earned a percentage of the net profits of the various operating entities established by Corcoran and Bennett relative to the CTR business, which is Chance the Rapper. Following fan disappointment in Bennett's most recent album and underwhelming fan support for its associated tour, Bennett replaced Corcoran with Ken and Taylor Bennett, his father and brother, and has now refused to honor the terms of his agreement with Corcoran. As a consequence, Pat the manager brings this action for all amounts due and owing and seeks all available remedies in law and in equity, including but not limited to compensatory damages and exemplary damages for breach of their agreement, related violations of the Illinois Sales Representative Act, and for its attorneys' fees and costs incurred in bringing this action. Okay, to put all of this into much simpler terms, Pat's lawyer is putting forth the case and crafting the narrative that Pat has been working with Chance the Rapper since 2012, and he has been instrumental in helping Chance the Rapper not get caught up in the industry, but build his own independent empire, thanks to Pat's management skills and vision, as well as Chance's talent. They had a regular management agreement, but after this new album, The Big Day, was such a massive flop in the eyes of the fans, not necessarily from a sales perspective, how it sounded. It led to Chance firing Pat and hiring his brother and father. So Pat is saying he wants to get paid all of what he's owed and should be owed in the future, according to him. The reason why I say that the lawyer is trying to craft this narrative and this isn't what happened is because we'll never really know what happened. And Chance's lawyer is going to spin all this information into the opposite to make it look like Chance was sabotaged by this manager who couldn't do his job and he needed to let him go, or even blame the failure of The Big Day on the manager himself and say he needed to find new management to recover. They then bring forward the parties, which is a really important component that should not be looked over. Plaintiff Pat the Manager LLC, in which Pat Corcoran is the sole member of Pat the Manager. Defendant Chance the Rapper LLC, Bennett is the sole member of Chance the Rapper. Defendant Cool Pop Merch LLC, Bennett is the sole member of. And lastly, Chance the Rapper Touring, which is a corporation. For the first two LLCs that we're going to cover, single member basically means that Chance the Rapper owns 100% of the company, Chance the Rapper, and Cool Pop Merch. This is not good for Pat Corcoran. As we'll see a little later, what likely happened between their relationship is that these LLCs or companies that Chance owned were getting all of the money directly into them. And then they paid Pat the Manager company for services rendered, which is a disaster for Pat because he's not a partner of either of the companies, Cool Pop or Chance the Rapper. If Pat was a member of the LLCs that Chance owned, then he would be legally bound and entitled to a certain percentage. The split could be whatever they make it. So Pat could have been 50% of Cool Pop, and this legally meant he was entitled to 50% of the earnings. So if he didn't get that 50%, he has a really strong case and will win easily. Even if he had just 15% of both of those companies, which he should have had, I don't know why he didn't do that. The last one, Chance the Rapper Touring, we're not getting into because that's not an LLC, it's a corporation. And the structure of that is entirely different. It has shareholders and owners. It's too complicated to do a dive in for this video, but Pat likely doesn't have ownership in there either. The next part of the lawsuit, which is 5 pages long, is just giving the entire backstory of how Pat and Chance the Rapper met and came to work together. And you're better off watching my video that I made earlier this year titled How Spotify Ruined Chance the Rapper's Revolution. It'll go through that entire story. I don't want to go through it again. It'll be in the top right cards and description. It's almost a verbatim to what's written out in this part of the lawsuit. So go ahead and watch that. One important new piece of information we get in this lawsuit is as follows. Corcoran's management and marketing expertise was exemplified in the New Era ball cap, embroidered with the stylized number 3, which became inseparably associated with Bennett and his third mixtape, Coloring Book. In a standard merchandising agreement, the artist would simply receive a percentage of the sales of the merchandise as a royalty. Corcoran instead negotiated a deal with New Era in which Cool Pop Merch LLC purchased the hats wholesale and sold them exclusively on chanceraps.com. This approach resulted in increased upfront risk for the business, but also resulted in massive profits when demand for the hat skyrocketed. The Chance 3 hat quickly became and still remains one of New Era's best-selling hats ever produced that is not affiliated with a major league sports team. This was a big move and shows how much of a boss that Pat Corcoran wanted Chance to be, but apparently not himself since he didn't have ownership in any of those LLCs. But if they did a collaboration with New Era, the benefit is that they don't have to worry about the inventory, storage, and logistics of shipping and returns. But they would only get a royalty, which was a small percentage in comparison to what New Era would get. So Pat said, nah, screw that, we're going to buy in massive bulk as wholesale up front from New Era. The reason why this was risky is they spent a lot of money up front, so they had less cash on hand in the businesses. They also had to deal with the inventory now, so if they didn't sell out all the product, they were stuck with it. But this meant that they had massive profits for every hat they sold. Chance the Rapper even said during his appearance on the Joe Budden podcast that those hats cost him $6 each to buy since he got them on wholesale, but sold them for $50 or a little bit more than $50 and made over $6 million in total. But according to this lawsuit, this was Pat's idea. They then put out the Coloring Book release and how that album came together, which gives us a look into how differently the big day would subsequently be put together and released. It says that after he did all of the touring post-Acid Rap release for damn near 3 years, Chance the Rapper went back to the drawing board to work on his next project and spent several months writing Coloring Book. And the lawyer makes sure you know how much work this was for Pat, saying it was his job to supervise the scheduling, recording, and mixing of the album, negotiate the clearing process with teams of multiple A-list artists who put up considerable resistance as well as their label. He had to deal with them to make sure this album could get released. Then it was released exclusively for 2 weeks on Apple Music, And they say that the money they received from Apple, which was around $500,000, was used to pay the artists and clear the samples so they could keep ownership of the project and not share any royalties with Apple. Pat also handled the campaign for the song No Problem with radio, getting the song on the NBA Finals commercial, marketing and press, and the covers of magazines like Billboard and Rolling Stone, which Chance the Rapper didn't do the Rolling Stone one. Pat did the same thing for the merchandise around this album, but then they talk about the fallout between manager and artist in the next section, which I'll have to quote. Having enjoyed repeated success with the release of his first 3 mixtapes, 10 Day, Acid Rap, and Coloring Book, Bennett announced on February 11th, 2019, without consulting with or giving advance notice to Corcoran, that he would release his first studio album in July of that year. Given the significant amount of work, care, and attention needed to produce an album, Corcoran expressed serious concern with the projected release date Bennett had unilaterally announced for the album. Corcoran knew that in view of the commitments Bennett had in early 2019, including his own wedding, it was likely there was not enough time for the creative process that was involved in releasing an album, and Corcoran advised Bennett in that regard. This says a lot. This manager was more than just a manager with a professional relationship to Chance. He was, even though it wasn't under any legal documents, a partner in Chance the Rapper's business and a friend. They built everything from the ground up together. So for Chance to hop on social media and not only announce a project release date before he even started work on it, but doing that without even consulting with or letting his manager know is the beginning of the end of their relationship. He should be talking to his manager before nearly every decision, and definitely one as big as his quote-unquote debut album. Corcoran opposed announcing the release of any album before the recording or writing process even began, let alone was substantially completed. Compounding the issue, Bennett's recording efforts were comprised by unproductive and undisciplined studio sessions, procrastination, and lackadaisical effort, perpetuated by various hangers-on uninterested in the hard work of writing and recording, resulted in a freestyle-driven product of subpar quality, a complete derivation from the meticulous writing process that brought Bennett fame for his wordplay and wit. Bennett disregarded Corcoran's advice before and during the project, resulting in the forced release of a subpar product on July 26, 2019. While the album debuted at number 2 on US Billboard 200, it was panned by many influential critics and faded from the chart after just 19 weeks. The Big Day quickly became Bennett's least popular project to date, delivering a blow to the reputations of Bennett and Corcoran. Now this is really uncharacteristic of Chance, and it may give some insight to fans of his that were so surprised, or I guess the better word would be shocked, when they heard The Big Day. Pat is alleging that Chance the Rapper just hopped in those studio sessions and had no care in the world, just freestyling and throwing anything together. He said, forget writing or planning or even thinking, the things that got me to the position I'm currently in when it comes to my music career. I'm going to take a hard left, and although the album debuted decently well, it should have went number 1 with the hype Chance the Rapper had. It leaving the charts after 19 weeks is hard. 19 weeks may seem long on the charts, but just for comparison, an album that released the same week as Chance the Rapper, NF's The Search album that went number 1 that week, has been on the charts for 71 weeks, almost 4 times as long as Chance's album, and he didn't get nearly enough mainstream push or attention like Chance did. The manager is saying that this was huge damage to both of their reputations, and he's not wrong. Everyone else in the industry must have thought, how could they let this happen? As with many album releases, Bennett and Corcoran initially anticipated touring in support of the new music. In that regard, Corcoran organized a 30-city global tour estimated to gross between $25 to $35 million and began implementing advertising campaigns to build anticipation. Despite Corcoran's efforts to arrange and market the tour, the underlying album failed to generate excitement comparable to prior releases. Based on low ticket sales and poor attendance projections, Corcoran recommended that Bennett take down the Big Day tour and use the time to regroup and refocus. Such a momentous recommendation was made only after Corcoran had assessed the situation, analyzed the available data, and consulted with other touring and brand management professionals. Although Bennett first postponed the tour just days before it was set to kick off in September, several months later it was shelved altogether, with Bennett promising his fans that he would come back much stronger and better in 2020. The tour was never put back on track. Shortly before the big day's release, Corcoran and Bennett made new merchandise available for pre-order, which included an exclusive pre-sale for vinyl copies of Bennett's 3 most popular and critically acclaimed mixtapes in vinyl and compact disc copies of The Big Day, a plan that Corcoran and Bennett had discussed for months and was agreed upon by both. This decision was based on Corcoran's research into how other artists generated significant revenue from similar pre-sale events in adherence to proven industry standards. However, interference with the plan by the Bennetts tarnished Bennett and Corcoran's merchandise operations as well. This agreed-upon plan was suddenly halted at the last minute after Taylor Bennett, Chance's brother, unilaterally decided that he disagreed with the sale and distribution strategy which had been in place for months. This abrupt shift puts a halt on the production of the goods and fulfillment of orders, which could only be lifted through express authorization from Bennett. Taylor Bennett's meddling was but one example of Bennett's relatives' increasing efforts to manage the direction of Bennett's career. While Corcoran attempted to assess the fallout and analyze how Bennett's brand could recover from the disappointment surrounding the Big Day album, Ken and Taylor Bennett began pushing Bennett's career in a different direction under a different philosophy, despite having little or no experience in the music industry. This was beyond insanity, and I'm even shocked that Chance allowed this to happen. But he's allowing his brother, who is also a rapper, a failed one at that, to have input in which direction he takes his career over the manager who helped you build this successful career you currently have. If you're not familiar, Taylor Bennett has been trying to have a successful music career since at least 2014. You might have seen him posting his music in comment sections or anywhere on the internet saying that he was Chance's brother and you should check him out. None of this worked, and at one point he even came out the closet. Not even that was able to give him a music career. He really pulled out the last trap card and it didn't work. So, pulled out all the stops and failed. So what in the world is he doing giving Chance advice? But more importantly, why is Chance listening? Instead of acknowledging the numerous distractions and artistic compromises that inevitably resulted from time wasted in the studio, all of which contributed to a lackluster album evidenced by historically low ticket sales, Bennett ultimately blamed Corcoran for the judgment rendered by his fanbase, rather than accept that his own lack of dedication had doomed the project. With Bennett misdirecting the blame for the Big Day's poor performance, Ken and Taylor Bennett slowly eroded Bennett's confidence in Corcoran. From a purely operational standpoint, the Bennetts were inexperienced in the talent management space. Furthermore, they were seemingly more concerned with monetizing every available promotional opportunity for Bennett, rather than shoring up and stabilizing the Chance the Rapper brand for future success, both musically and financially. By contrast, Corcoran was encouraging Bennett to reduce public appearances and refocus his efforts on songwriting, productive studio time, attention to the business, and optimizing Chance the Rapper's management and decision-making processes. In short, Corcoran and the Bennetts had widely divergent views on the strategic management and future direction of Chance the Rapper. Eventually, against Corcoran's strong recommendation that Bennett step away from the public and regroup, Ken and Taylor Bennett continued to press for and ultimately confirmed Bennett's appearance on television programs such as Ellen, Good Morning America, and The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, which only forced Bennett to publicly address his album's shortcomings rather than generate excitement about a newly released album, which is what such appearances are calculated to do. These appearances served only to further exacerbate the failure of the Big Day. Zero accountability from Chance the Rapper. No surprise, he decides to blame his manager when he's the one that released the music, but good insight is given here when it came to Pat's vision, and his idea was that, yo, Chance, we're having a disaster right now. You didn't listen to me when you announced the album. You didn't listen to me when I told you not to freestyle and put almost no effort into creating this album. You didn't listen to me when you actually released it. And now all the fans hate it. So we're in trouble now. And I gotta do damage control. So let's at least stop the bleeding. What's the point of doing all these appearances if they're only going to talk about the biggest talking point surrounding the album? Why does everybody think this sucks? And it's better for the brand long term if we just stop the bleeding. Don't do any press runs, don't promote the album anymore, and let it blow over with time, then come back stronger, which is the smart thing to do. Continuously promoting something that did bad is just reaffirming people's beliefs and bringing it to the forefront of their minds when they might have forgotten about it. But his brother and father said, no, you're going to go on all these talk shows, and it did exactly what Pat said it would do. It generated zero excitement, as evidenced by the ticket sales, and it only magnified how much of a failure it was. Despite several attempts at reconciliation, born out of Corcoran's desire to get Chance the Rapper back on a successful track and to rebuild the Chance the Rapper brand, on April 27, 2020, Chance the Rapper notified Pat the manager that Chance the Rapper was terminating its engagement of Pat Corcoran and all entities controlled by Pat Corcoran, effective today. After months of contentious interactions with Chance the Rapper in an effort to receive payment for all commissions due and payable, Pat the manager presented Chance the Rapper with a list of commissions owed by Chance the Rapper, Cool Pop merch, and Chance the Rapper touring, including but not limited to, and he lists all of the commissions for streaming and sales of each project, alongside all the music released as singles, merchandise, and payment for what Chance received on the Netflix show Rhythm and Flow. He's saying that all of it totaled is in excess of $3 million that Pat is owed and still not paid. To which Chance the Rapper's father said that he was only willing to pay him $350,000 up front in a lump sum. Pat disagreed and said that would be a deviation from their long-standing agreement of 15% of net profits, and a breach of their oral agreement where this really falls apart in my eyes, and I have a hard time believing this will hold up. Despite months of outreach and efforts at reconciliation, Bennett has refused to pay Corcoran the amounts Corcoran is fairly owed under the parties' long-standing agreement and well-settled course of conduct. Chance the Rapper's team replied to Pitchfork with the following: Mr. Corcoran has filed a suit for allegedly unpaid commissions. In fact, Mr. Corcoran has been paid all of the commissions to which he is legally entitled. Most of the complaint consists of self-serving and fabricated allegations that are wholly unrelated to Mr. Corcoran's claim for commissions and were plainly included in a calculated attempt to seek attention. Those allegations are wholly without merit, are grossly offensive, and we will respond to them within the context of the litigation. This looks like the typical response that you would get from Chance the Rapper's team, which is a surprise they even gave a comment, and remember when I said about narratives, they completely flipped it to serve their purpose, which is they're supposed to do. But they would probably need to do some damage control because his public image has been going to absolute trash the past year. Some people that are Chance the Rapper fans might be asking themselves, what the hell happened to the Chance that I used to know? He wouldn't do this. I'm sure Pat asked himself the same question, and Chance the Rapper has done a lot of things publicly that have people and the fans looking at him like, this is not the person we knew or had presented to us back then. One example is how he replied to a fan interaction leading up to the release date of The Big Day in 2019. A fan said something about some dance video that Chance made. The original tweet is now deleted, but Chance the Rapper replied saying, "No one cares, Bryce. Just learn how to dance and stop whining. I need something to dance to, my guy. We at the carnival. I really like the fair. Doesn't get my jitterbug going." Still excited for the album though. This led another fan to drop in and give their 2 cents on how Chance handled this reply. People have different tastes and that's fine, but the way you're talking to fans who have been with you since 10 Day is disappointing, and that ego reflects in the quality of your newest music. This was even before The Big Day came out, so this guy might have been onto something. To which Chance says, "Eat a D." This turns into a back and forth with Chance and the same fan. It's good to see that your daughter in relationship with God turned you into a good man instead of someone who can't handle criticism. You're a spoiled child who thinks artists are making music for you. I never intended for you to find or like anything I made. If I knew you existed, I would have tried my hardest to keep you from being able to enjoy it. Now go eat a D again." The fans seemed really perplexed by this behavior. It's not congruent with this good boy image Chance has been trying to get everyone to believe his entire career. Things were unraveling. He said, "Can't believe I used to love you. You've got the Kanye ego without the prowess. Used to love me? Why are you getting so heated if it's not that serious? The only person here being disrespectful is you. I don't think I was disrespecting either one of your accounts. I truthfully think you should go eat a D. Was it disrespectful that I don't take advice from you on how to make music? I don't understand what part was disrespectful." Even other fans started to look at Chance weird. They didn't do the usual behavior of fans, which is to hop in and just agree with the rapper and scold the criticism from the other fan. They knew this was off from their favorite rapper, and they made sure he knew that. He sure didn't used to act like that. "Bro, I think he's hacked too. Doesn't even sound like him." "Nah, it's me," which Chance the Rapper confirms, and then he tweets out on his own. "It's really condescending when you talk about strides I showed and what suits me, lol. If I needed your help or taste to make music, I would have called you every time I hit the studio for advice. You don't know me or care for me. You just listen to songs I made a long time ago." And it looks like he did need their help because his album was received terribly by his longtime fans, and that sentiment spread throughout the rest of casual listeners who even aren't necessarily fans of him, and it's almost universally seen as a dud now. But his fan just expressed one last tweet trying to wrap his head around why Chance was acting so out of character. "Hey man, show me in my first tweet where I disrespected you. I just want to know why you came at me with all this toxic negativity instead of not replying at all. Because it's the internet. It's making me laugh hysterically every time someone has to read me telling you to eat a D, especially when you read eat a D. Ha 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 ha." This is bizarro world for someone who thought they knew Chance the Rapper, but I'm not surprised. Nor was I surprised. This was who Chance the Rapper always was. He just managed to hide it really well and not let it come to the surface. I was right again. But what Chance would realize is, just because he has had nothing but praise his whole career, people loved everything he did, it continued to fuel his ego and he thought he could do no wrong. After all, he even said in a song, "I met Kanye West, I'm never going to fail," and then immediately proceeded to fail. Just a month after this tweet exchange with the release of his project, The Big Day. Not only being outsold by the rapper NF, who's nowhere near as popular, or we could say made to seem as popular, as Chance the Rapper, but his album was also hated and clowned up until this day. Chance still hasn't learned though, because he might be worse than Meek Mill when it comes to social media presence. Earlier this year, when J. Cole released a song in response to hipster rapper turned communist librarian No Name, unprovoked attack on him for not doing what she felt he should be doing, Chance hops on Twitter and says, "Yet another L for men masking patriarchy and gaslighting as constructive criticism." A fan replied, "I know No Name Ya Peoples," and Cole did not read the room before dropping that, but come on bro. They both my peoples, but only one of them put out a whole song talking about how the other needs to reconsider their tone and attitude in order to save the world. It's not constructive and undermines all the work No Name has done. It's not BW's job to spoon feed us. We grown. As absurd as this is, you can see the typical American ego in it as well, thinking their issues are reflective of the entire world, and also saying No Name is trying to save the world. She couldn't even save her own career, and Chance the Rapper couldn't even manage to listen to his manager and not sabotage his own career. Airline tells you to make sure your oxygen mask is on before anyone else's. Chance the Rapper has always been what you're seeing right now. He has never faced hardship in his music career. Literally everything has been smooth sailing. Critics praising him, blogs praising him when they were really important, fans praising him, peers praising him, his idols praising him. And he continuously soaked this up and thought he was greater than he really was. And when it all came crashing down, instead of thinking, maybe I need to humble myself even if it's behind closed doors, when his tour got canceled, he put out this statement. "Hey guys, I've decided to cancel the big tour. I know it sucks and it's been a lot of back and forth with reschedules and rerouting, but it's for the best. I'm going to take this time to be with family, make some new music, and develop my best show to date. I'm deeply sorry to anyone with a ticket who has supported me this past decade by coming to a show and rocking out with me. And I feel even worse for anyone who is planning on making this their first chance concert. Thank you all for an amazing year, and a huge thanks to my team and family for being so strong through this whole year. I promise to come back much stronger and better in 2020 and hope to see some of you guys there. I truly love you and God bless." Well, the statement, to put it simply, was because his tickets didn't sell and the tour flopped. We got confirmation of this from the court documents earlier and the manager saying it himself, but it was obvious way before that. He had on tour with him Lil Yachty as his opener and also his brother, Taylor Bennett. And he even had a Cyber Monday sale selling 2-for-1 tickets trying to fill up these arenas. And they knew it was going to be empty, so they had to pull the plug. I mean, think of how terrible the press would be when they're losing money on a tour and you just see all these photos of the whole stadium half full. Not even half full, probably a quarter. I think Chance's team figured that before the release that this album would come out, he would get so much positive press and promotion, it would elevate him to superstar status, which is what I expected too. He was set to be the next big star, the way everything was coming together. And with all of that, if it came together successfully, which was not a hard task for it to happen, they thought he'd be able to sell out these arenas easily. But the opposite happened in every way possible. It was a disaster. Well, 2020 is almost over, and Chance the Rapper most definitely did not come back any better or stronger, and by the looks of the way he still presents himself on social media, as well as him not reconciling with his manager, he's only dove deeper into the mentality of nobody else knows what they're talking about. There's clearly something wrong with them, not the music, if they don't like the big day, and I'm not going to change a thing. All I can say is it will be one hell of a train wreck if he continues down this path of destruction, and for that tour, I most definitely got front row tickets. But let me know what y'all think in the comments about Chance the Rapper. Also, check out the playlist on your screen. It has all my Dark Side videos on it. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Peace.